Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare
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 Ram
Ram Hare Ram
Ram Ram
Hare
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 Hare Krishna
Krishna
Hare Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Hare Hare Hare
Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Ram
Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare Hare Hare
Krishna
Ram Hare
Krishna
Ram
Hare 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 Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna
Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna Hare 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 Ram Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram
Krishna Krishna
Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Jai Sri Krishna Caitanya Bhagavata Nityananda Shri Vasadi Guru Bhakti Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare Krishna Mataji, we can't hear you. Maybe you have to change the audio jack.
Oh,
Yeah, now.
can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavrind ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधारा श्री वासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. Srila Gurudev ki jai. All glories to all the assembled devotees here. Please accept my humble obeisances. I'm Chinmayi Vrajapriya Devi Dasi, welcoming all of you to this mid-morning Japa session. I thank all of you for attending this session. And please forgive me for interrupting your ecstatic chanting today. And now we move on to our next session, which is class on Caitanya Bhagavata. And before we start, can I know who all have joined today's call so that we can welcome you?
Hare Krishna, Rajapriya Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Devi Dasi Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Guru Maharaj. Welcome to the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Chinmayi Vrajapriya Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shyama Gauri Devidasi from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna, Shyama Gauri Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. Welcome to the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam to you and all Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Vrinda.
Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev. Welcome to the call, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga and all the assembled devotees. Yashamati from Chicago.
Mataji. Chinmayi Mataji, your voice is gone. Would you like to try a different audio, Mataji? In the audio option, you might have microphone, same as system, just switch one of them. Okay. Can you hear that? You can. Okay, Mataji. I'll start the recording. Hare Krishna. Mataji, the speaker, yeah. Hare Krishna. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Please accept my humble obeisances. Welcome to Bhakti Sanga Japa conference call. We'll be continuing our series on Sri Caitanya Bhagavata. But before I move ahead to Sri Caitanya Bhagavata, I would like to read the Prabhupada quote for today in January. You can do all kinds of purposes, but we shall go forward. The caravan will pass. You may but take all these things as Krishna's mercies and engage more enthusiastically. Why should we be defeated? Calcutta, January 16, 1977. Thank you all so much for joining us today. And I'm extremely sorry for my Mataji had to take over. So today's class will be given by His Grace Sundaranand Prabhu. And Sundaranand Prabhu, most of you must be familiar. And he's from Baltimore and a very nice cordial speaker, very grounded devotee. So we have a great fortune to be hearing from Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you can now take over the call. Sri Caitanya Bhagavata, chapter 16, verses 1 to 7. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mati. Hare Krishna. My obeisance to all of you. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Let's offer a praise to previous acharyas and Krishna, and then we can start. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnanajana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapatantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Uttapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savdutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvitamsha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Ushbanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kupa Sindhubhyevacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Destarani. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Okay, thank you so much for joining us and for giving me the opportunity. Thank you, Prithvi Lasin Mataji. I'm fortunate to meditate on this subject matter and so that we can discuss whatever I understood and whatever I learned from previous devotees and my Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. So it'll be simple subject matter today's theme. We'll go through some of the verses and then we'll discuss. Let me share my screen so we can go through. I think it will come. Let me see if. Yes, Mati, you can see the screen now. Go ahead. You can see the Chaitanya Bhagavata text 1, text 2, text 3 like this.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, just making sure the browser right tab was coming up or not.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, perfect. Let me minimize this control panel thing. Okay. Okay, so there are 7 verses today. We are in the chapter number 16 of Adikanda. Adikanda, this one is the glories of Srila Haridas Thakura. Previous chapter was discussing about Lord Chaitanya's marriage ceremony, all that you must have discussed in the last session. This discussion is about glories of Srila Haridas Thakura. So we'll discuss few verses. So text 1. Jaya Jaya Dina Bandhu Sri Gaura Sundara Jaya Jaya Lakshmi Kanta Sabara Ishvara. All glories to Sri Gaura Sundara, the friend of the poor. All glories to Supreme Lord, the beloved of Lakshmi. So first few verses are glorifying Lord Chaitanya, like Vrindavan Das Thakur always does in every chapter. Is glorifying Lord Chaitanya, like specifically Dina Bandhu, the friend of the poor. And all glories to Supreme Lord is being glorified as the beloved of Lakshmi Devi. And then text 2. Jaya Jaya Bhakta Raksha Hetu Avatara Jaya Sarva Kala Satya Kirtana Vihara. All glories to the Lord who is incarnated to protect the devotees. All glories to He who enjoys the chanting of the holy names and who is the eternal absolute truth. So all of them don't have purports. So essentially, Lord Chaitanya is being glorified as the one who came to protect the devotees. And then he is also being glorified as he enjoys the chanting of the holy names. He came to show us the way as a devotee, and he also relishes the holy names both. So this one nice thing about Krishna, in whatever form he comes, either is his original from Krishna directly, or his original from Krishna personally coming as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or any other incarnation. So there are many purposes described in the scriptures. So one of the things is he also enjoys. That's the one important point to remember. In fact, in Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, in several places is mentioned, Krishna is described as Akila Rasamrita Murti. That means Akila means all rasa, mellows, transcendental mellows, or sweetness of the exchanges of love. Akila Rasa Amrita, That means unending nectar. Nectar, Amrita usually means nectar. That means unending also it means, or unlimited like that. Unending rasas. Murti is a person, personified form, person. So Krishna enjoys all the rasas. Even when he's killing the Putana demon, even when he's killing Agasura demon, he's also enjoying. Of course, there are several other reasons described. One of the key reasons our acharyas always emphasize is to give pleasure to his devotees and to attract our minds and hearts so that we'll be inspired to take shelter of Krishna and to wanting to go towards Krishna, wanting to have a relationship with Krishna, wanting to enjoy that loving relationship with Krishna. That's the other main reason also glorified. Of course, we know from Bhagavata different other reasons to protect the devotees, like that is being Paritrana Sadhuna Vinashacha Dushkutam, that verse, right? Basically protecting the devotees and annihilating the demons and establishing the religion. That are also our purposes described. Like that Supreme Lord, when he does anything, he fulfills lots of purposes at one time. That is, he is a supremely intelligent personality, Supreme Lord personal. So, but he's mainly here is being glorified as he protects his devotees, because the devotees are in heart. He is inside the heart of the devotees, and whenever a devotee's protection is coming in the first place, he even keeps his enjoyment aside if he has to give protection. He even keeps his word aside to give protection. For example, we celebrate Makar Sankranti. So one of the aspects of Makar Sankranti is Bhishma Dev, one of his pure devotee, Krishna's pure devotee. He leaves the planet and he goes back to spiritual world, Vaikuntha Loka. So that in that pastime also we see how Krishna just before during the war, before this incident when we left the body, of course, during the Mahabharata war, Bhishma Dev says, unless Krishna lifts the weapon, that means he breaks his promise, I will kill all the Pandavas, like that he says. So in that on the one day of the war, Bhishma Dev was fighting so fiercely with everyone, Pandavas, of course. Bhishma Dev was on the Kaurava side, right? He was fighting so fiercely with, in fact, is described as he has strength and strength, skill, knowledge, everything far superior than anybody on the war, including Arjuna, several times greater than Arjuna actually in terms of skill, in terms of expertise. So he was trying, so many arrows he was releasing towards Arjuna. Arjuna could not handle it. So that time, even Arjuna chariot was broken and Arjuna came down on the battlefield, is described. So then Krishna lifts the chariot wheel and goes charging towards Bhishma Dev. So again, there are many things in this pastime again to discuss. One of the main aspect is that to protect his devotee Arjuna, he didn't care about his promise that he gave, that he will not lift a weapon, like that. Of course, our Srila Prabhupada defends Krishna nicely in a purport. He says that Krishna actually did not break a promise because wheel is not a real weapon. For example, when he wanted to kill Shishpala, he brought his Sudarshan Chakra and he used that. But wheel is not really like a weapon that is used for fighting normally. But he charged towards him, Bhishma Dev, showing that he's going to come like that. So actually, that was also very nice because Bhishma Dev, before he disappears from this world, he remembers that particular form of Krishna, where he's coming and charging, and the outer garment is coming away, and face has little bit of sweat like that, and some blood stains like that. It feels like so. All that beautiful form is remembering Krishna before he leaves his body from this world. So of course, there are subtle aspects also in this pastime. For example, we should not consider, oh, Krishna is getting sweat like me. Krishna has a material body like me. That's why he's getting blood. So many things are explained by acharyas. Krishna has a transcendental body that we should always remember. But for the sake of pastimes, he can manifest anything. For in this particular case, he is giving the pleasure to his devotee also in Veera Rasa, chivalry. In that, because Bhishma Dev, one of the rasa he was situated in, out of the seven secondary rasas, right? One of the rasa is Veera Rasa, chivalry. So he was relating with Krishna in that rasa. So that's why he's reciprocating with his devotee in that rasa like that. So for that purpose, this is one important principle, that for the sake of pastimes of Krishna, anything and everything can happen. Something may appear logical, something may be appear illogical, but it can happen just to enhance the pastime of Krishna with his devotees like that. So that's another thing we can, I was remembering, because Makar Sankranti, we celebrate just now. And then, yeah, so that's about production of devotees. For production of devotees, he can do anything like that. And he enjoys the chanting of the holy name. So now you see, the holy names, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, even when traveling anywhere, he was always chanting the holy name. Krishna, 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 hey. That's a common thing we hear from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So like that, he's chanting the holy name always and encouraging everyone to chant the holy name, encouraging everyone to go home and worship the deities and do Sankirtan together, do prasadam distribution, like that we hear in Chaitanya Charitamrita, like that also. So Lord always enjoys the chanting of the holy name, like that. In fact, this is one of the inspiration for us also. We want to give pleasure by chanting his holy names like that. So when we're chanting Japa, we always understand that is a service for Krishna. Of course, this is also another bigger topic. We can, whenever we get time, we can always contemplate. How is this chanting service to Krishna? Like that also you can contemplate. So some of the couple of aspects I'll mention. One is that like Krishna likes to hear his holy name, like one thing. Second aspect is, Krishna is not like a selfish person. Oh, they're telling my name, so I'm happy. Not like that. So he's thinking, by chanting holy name, we are benefiting because it purifies us from all the impurities that we're carrying from so many lifetimes. So he is happy that we're getting purified and we're coming closer towards him. He's waiting for us, eagerly waiting for us to come join him in his eternal loving pastimes with him. So because of that, he's happy that we are coming closer to, we made the choice that we're going to chant the holy name. It's only a matter of time that we'll go back to Krishna when we start chanting the holy name. That's why he's happy like that. And then it's described who is the eternal absolute truth. Yeah, of course, most of us know absolute truth. Prabhupada coined this term actually. Absolute truth means one who is the source of everything. Krishna is not described as God like that. God means just somebody who's a controller like that, it implies usually. Like you probably read Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter itself, Prabhupada starts with that. Difference between God and absolute truth, he says. God means somebody is a controller of something or somewhere or someone like that. Whereas absolute truth means he's the source of everything. So there's no one beyond him. Everything is coming from him only. If something is coming from, if he is coming from something, then that something is absolute truth like that. Is difference. So that's what is describing here also. So we'll go to the next sloka, text 3. Bhakta Goshti Sahita Gauranga Jaya Jaya Sunile Chaitanya Kada Bhakti Labhyahaya. So all glories to Sri Gauranga along with his associates. By hearing the topics of Lord Chaitanya, one attains devotional service to the Lord. So this is the beauty of Bhakti Yoga process. First is glorifying Lord Gauranga and all his associates. Normally we say Gaura Bhakta Vrinda like that. So here is glorifying all of them. And then he's saying, by hearing the topics of Lord Chaitanya, what happens? One attains devotional service to the Lord. Devotional service is so rare and not easy to obtain. Like Madhurya Kadambini Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes. It's not easy to obtain. It's very, very rare. And even nectar of devotion we hear, right? It's very, very rare. Devotional service gives us the highest happiness. Paramananda or Premananda rather. Premananda he gives. So generally we hear about happiness by material sense pleasure is like Jadananda it's called. And then on top of it is Brahmananda. That means happiness due to liberation, merging in Brahma Jyoti like that, for which impersonalists aspire for. Above that is Premananda, a happiness of transcendental ecstasy in loving relationship with Krishna and loving relationship with Krishna's devotees. That is the real happiness we are all hankering towards. And then also another happiness is described in Nectar of Devotion. Prabhupada describes Sevananda with the example of Daruka he describes. Daruka is normally a chariot driver of Lord Krishna, we know, in Dwaraka. but he also has the service of fanning Krishna. Dharuka is so imbued with pure devotional service and ecstasy. He's experiencing ecstasy symptoms while he's fanning Lord Krishna. And he's so great, he's not thinking, wow, now I got it. I'm enjoying now ecstasy. He's not thinking like that. He's so imbued with service mode for Lord Krishna that he's thinking, oh, by these ecstasy symptoms, my service of fanning is not happening properly. Let me overcome the symptoms. Let me come back and do my service properly. That's the service mode, highest service mode we can understand from the example of great devotees like this, Dwarka. So that's why that is the rarest and greatest devotional service we can achieve. And devotional service glories are unlimited. Through devotional service, we can be situated in our natural position. What is our natural constitutional position? We're a part and parcel of Krishna, and we're a servant of Krishna. And we are spiritual in nature. We have the same nature like Krishna. Of course, we're quantitatively small compared to Krishna, but we have same nature, Satchidananda, eternal, knowledge, full of knowledge and blissful. So because we are same nature and we're part and parcel of him, and our nature is to serve him, when we serve him, we'll feel unlimited bliss. And in fact, the bliss we achieve through devotional service is not limited, unlimited, and is ever growing also is described. That means not like a finite bliss we can get with anything else. We'll discuss more about the sense gratification coming up. So that is the glories of devotional service. We are happy, Krishna is happy, and because we both are in our natural position with the devotional service. So how can we get such a great thing? Just by hearing Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, like you're all doing regularly, reading Caitanya Bhagavata. So just by hearing topics of Lord Chaitanya, we can achieve that. That's the glories of Bhakti Yoga process. We don't have to do great austerities, go to the forest and sit and meditate silently without thinking about anything, sit in one posture, look at to here, tip of the nose. None of those things we do need to do like Ashtanga Yoga. So many practices. We just hear the topics of Lord Chaitanya, that itself can imbue devotion in us. So when we hear statements like this from scriptures, our faith in hearing should increase. Then we should be very, very inspired. Am I hearing regularly? How can I hear regularly? What can I adjust in my life to hear regularly? How can I hear about the pastimes of the Lord regularly? What kind of association I need to change so that I can hear regularly? Like that, we need to develop aspiration, inspiration, and make some endeavor in that direction to hear the topics of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna regularly. So that's the other thing we can hear. Of course, hearing is also a nice topic, how to hear, quality of hearing, quantity of hearing. That's also important. We should hear as much as we can and chant also as much as we can. So each of us has a taste with a different limb of devotion service, then that is absolutely fine. We can start with one limb of devotion service where we are very, very inspired and interested in. That's how, in fact, that's a key to success in spiritual life. We start with one thing very sincerely. Whatever we got attracted in devotion service, whether it's hearing, whether it's chanting, whether it's deity worship, whether it's serving Vaishnavas or eating prasadam even. Start with one thing and do that sincerely and try to do that qualitatively to please the Lord like that. And then from that one thing, we can derive strength and use that strength in all the other devotion service limbs also. Great thing about devotion service is, even though you start with one interest in devotion service, as we grow and as our heart gets purified, we get interested in all the other limbs of devotion service also. And we experience pleasure and taste in other limbs of the devotion service also. That's the beauty of Bhakti Yoga. So wherever we are, we can start with one and experience the unlimited pleasure. Now text 4. Adikanda Katha Ati Amritera Dhara Yahi Gaurangera Sarva Mohana Vihara. The topics of Adikanda are like a stream of nectar, Amritera Dhara, full of the enchanting descriptions of Lord Gauranga's pastimes. So, okay, we'll read the purport. I think it's better. The phrase Sarvamohana Vihara is explained as follows. Both those who see and those who hear about Gaurasundara's pastimes as a child and youth are enchanted. The concocted consideration of Parakiya attributed to Gaurasundara by the Gauranagaris is not the purport of the phrase Sarvamohana. So nice. So if you notice, other is increasing our inspiration, our eagerness, our he's making us looking forward to hearing the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya more and more. That's what he's doing. And also sharing his own appreciation for Lord Chaitanya and Lord Chaitanya's glories, Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. The pure devotee, like we are hearing from Vrindavan Das Thakur now, with the commentary of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura. So both are pure devotees. So this is how we get their association, we get their faith, we get their appreciation, we get to see their heart. Then through this association, we can also develop that aspiration. Wow, hearing pastimes is so wonderful. Like that, we'll also develop the aspiration. I'm not feeling so much ecstasy like these devotees. Maybe I should hear more. I also must develop the taste to hear like that. We'll develop the aspirations. That's the beauty of getting association of acharyas like this through scriptures. So here what is he saying? The topics of Adikanda. Adikanda specifically are pastimes of as a child form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and also in the youth pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's why specifically glorifying Adikanda. And they're like stream of nectar. Nectar is very tasty. So like that. And stream means not like a drop of nectar. Drop of nectar means I will taste now and gone for a minute, like that. Stream of nectar is keep on going like that. So I'm getting so much taste like that. And then full of enchanting descriptions of Lord Gauranga's pastimes. So that purport is cautioning us on something by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He's saying that this Gauranagari is a phrase basically during the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, there are so many apasampradayas that were there. That means so many deviated sampradayas. That means they look like they're following Lord Chaitanya. They look like they're practicing Lord Chaitanya's teachings, but they make some deviation out of it. So something or other. For example, in this particular purport, the deviation they're highlighting is improper understanding of Parakiya aspect. So some of these deviations go like this. I'm not expert on all the different upsampradayas, what kind of deviation each of them have, but that's also described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. But I'm explaining this particular thing because it came out here. Basically, some of these have misunderstanding that we all heard of the terms Swakiya and Parakiya. Swakiya means within the marriage pastimes. Parakiya means pastimes outside the marriage, like that, between a husband and somebody else, not other than the wife, like that, right? So these some of the deviated people, they think, okay, we are followers of Lord Chaitanya. We also need to perform. We need to perform. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself. We should perform Rasalila. We should perform pastimes with others other than people who marry, like that. So this has wrong philosophy and wrong understanding they brought out. Those are called deviations. Actually, each of us have the responsibility to understand the philosophy and the principles given by our previous acharyas, our Gurudev and previous acharyas, Srila Prabhupada and previous acharyas, and preserve them without deviations. In fact, it's described once, if this is a straight line, one small deviation like this, as we keep on going, it will show up like this, like that. So, especially in deity worship, we carefully follow whatever seniors and acharyas gave us, and then principles, we always make sure our principles are intact, like that. How do we do that? One of the things is by reading Shastra regularly, like we are doing here. So reading Shastra and by following examples of Guru Sadhu also. And sometimes Shastra, we may not understand everything clearly. Then we ask a sadhu. Sadhu means a elevated devotee. In fact, Srimad Bhagavatam defines sadhu also. Titikshava, Karunika, like that, different qualities of sadhu, the great elevated devotees. And then Guru also, a spiritual master, we can inquire and then understand. The first person we might ask, we may not get the right answer, but we should not turn away our inquisitive spirit. Our inquisitive spirit should be intact. And then till we are satisfied, we can keep the question on. So that way Krishna will give us answer either through this devotee or that devotee or another devotee. Or Krishna will personally give realization through reading scripture also for us. So we should always keep our mind open. Even if we get a doubt, keep it open. So check with senior devotees or a guru if opportunities exist. Otherwise, Krishna will reveal as the time comes. So we don't need to be disheartened when you don't understand something. And as we keep on chanting also, we'll get purified, we'll get understandings also like that. So that's what here this describing, cautioning us. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is cautioning us. Text 5. Hena mate Vaikunta Nayaka Navadvipe Grihastahaya Padayena Dvijarupe. In this way, the Lord of Vaikunta continued teaching as a householder. Remember, he's referring to the previous chapters, what we discussed. So he got married also, and then he's teaching as a householder. So you might have discussed already, at every stage of life of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's setting a personal example for us to follow nicely. So for example, in Brahmacharya life, and then Grihastha life, he was a perfect Grihastha. And then later on as a sannyasi, he sets a perfect example of a sannyasi like that for us to follow. Again, you all might know the difference between following and imitating. Imitating means doing exactly what Lord Chaitanya did. Following means understanding the principle from Lord Chaitanya's life with the help of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Try to understand the principle properly and then apply it in our life based on our context where we are like that. So he's teaching us as a householder also. Now text 6. Actually that means one of the principle we can learn from here also is, similarly, we as a devotee, practicing devotee, we also set a right example for others to follow. That means whatever we understand, whatever we learnt, we apply in our life properly. That way, we can set the example for others also. Not only we are benefited by going in our journey back to Krishna, but also we're helping others through a proper example. Because everybody is looking at us, oh, this Prabhu goes to iskcon, but he is always angry. What is there? So this iskcon philosophy doesn't work like that. They'll think, oh, this Prabhu doesn't talk to anybody. So he's always doing some nonsense. Oh, iskcon people are like that. So unfortunately, people assess based on our 1% behavior, whole of iskcon worldwide organization. It's unfortunate inference people make, but this is a very common inference people make. So when we understand that, we do our best possible to set the right example, number one. That doesn't mean that we act beyond our level of knowledge or realization. That doesn't mean that. Whatever we understand, whatever we realized, we apply in our life and be a best example of that. And then we never pose that, oh, look, I'm a pure devotee. We never pose like that. We pose wherever we are. That way it's clear to others. Even if they're not known, generally we try to educate also. Any organization, devotees are coming at the first stage, second stage, devotees are in third stage, like that, different stages. So it's natural that somebody is at this stage, somebody is that stage, somebody is that stage. Somebody is very pure, somebody has a lot of impurities, somebody has some impurities because they practice already bhakti, some like that. Everybody cannot understand that mature way. But that's why we try to be very careful in our dealings with others and in our appearance to others also, external appearance also. Again, that should not rule our life. External appearance should not rule our life. Internal inspiration to please Krishna should rule our life. But external appearance should support our bhakti, support our fellow devotees, support our society, so that they can all grow in bhakti also, like that. And also, that external behavior should help us bringing others closer to bhakti, closer to Krishna, like that. That way, it helps our service. The external appearance, external behavior sometimes help our service also to bring people closer to Krishna. With that understanding, we watch out our external behavior also. Now, text 6. Prema Bhakti Prakasha Nimitta Avatara Taha Kichu Na Karena Icha Setan Hara. The Lord incarnated to distribute love and devotion, but by his supreme will, he had not yet begun. Purport. Although Gaurasundara appeared to distribute loving devotional service to Krishna, in his childhood pastimes, he did not manifest such devotional service. This is proof of his independent will. His supreme will is absolute and independent. If a living entity, by awakening his subordinate nature, can understand the Lord's desire, then the eternally controlled living entity will no longer try to illegitimately dominate him. It's a wonderful sentence. This is actually preempting some of the theme of the next set of verses also. So basically, Lord Chaitanya, one of the reasons in Chaitanya Charitamrita we hear 3 external reasons why he came, and internal reasons we discover. One of the reasons he came, he came to give us a Krishna Prema, the 2 Raja Prema, Prema like a gopis, like that he came to give. So he came to distribute Bhakti for us like that. But in the childhood pastimes, it appears he did not manifest Bhakti externally at least. That's what he is commenting here. Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj is elaborating on that for us. That in childhood pastime, he did not manifest such devotional service. But who can question that? He is a Supreme Lord. He has his independent will. And he is absolute. Whatever he does is absolute. And what he is independent. That means nobody can control him. Why did you do like that? You said you're going to do like this, but why are you not doing like that? We cannot question him. He is a Supreme Lord. He is independent. He is absolute beyond all of us. So that is one point. And that is this independent nature of Krishna and the supreme absolute nature of Krishna. We should understand this aspect. When we understand this principle, then our mind doesn't give doubts. Why did Krishna do like that? It's not proper for Krishna to do like that. Like that, we'll not get the doubts. When we understand Krishna is Supreme Lord, Krishna is transcendental to all the modes of material nature. When we understand that, we will not think, oh, when I'm angry, I behave like this. But when Krishna is angry, why did he not behave like that? We will not get those doubts. Because anger is in mode of passion and ignorance. Whereas Krishna is beyond all of them. Even if he exhibits anger, that's transcendental anger. So his anger will not look like my anger. So then we will not compare Krishna with us. So when we always have the perspective that Krishna is Supreme Lord, whatever he wants to do, he can do. Like that. And also he has a good reason why he's doing. I may not be aware why he's doing this particular way, that thing. Of course, with the mercy of our Acharyas, some other things we can learn. We can understand some other things. By Acharya's commentaries, like Prabhupada purports, we can understand some other things, why Krishna is behaving some ways like that. But that doesn't mean we should understand that I should know everything Krishna is doing. That is impossible. Remember, Jiva Goswami describes in his Sandarbhas that the first qualification like that, eligibility to understand Krishna a little bit, is to know that Krishna has unlimited and inconceivable potencies. When we understand that past point, that means inconceivable potencies. That means I may not understand everything. Then we can understand something about Krishna. That is one aspect we need to remember always. Second aspect is that only by Krishna's mercy we can understand something about him. Because I may do 16 rounds properly, I might get up early morning, Brahmurta time, chant everything, hear everything, read everything, serve Vaishnavas, do lots of seva in the temple. I can do a whole bunch of list of things. But it's not by my endeavor I will understand something about Krishna. It's not my endeavor I will get to Krishna Loka. It's my endeavor when seen by Krishna, my sincerity when seen by Krishna, my attempts to get some devotion to Krishna, when seen by Krishna, Krishna will give me some mercy. And with that mercy, he will pull us up. That's so we can go back to Krishna Loka. We can be situated in eternal devotion service. We can be situated in his sweet, loving pastimes like that. So now, yeah. So now, another last point is, if by awakening his subordinate nature, what does this mean? That means understanding our constitutional nature, awakening our real nature, that I'm part and parcel of Krishna, I'm servant of Krishna, that spiritual nature when we awaken, then we can understand the Lord's desire and be in alignment with Lord's desire. So we can be in coordination or in in alignment with the will of the Lord, like that. And then do what He pleases Supreme Lord, whether it is by our own action or by helping others. What pleases Supreme Lord, we can act like that. Then we'll not try to dominate Him. Actually, why is He saying dominate Him? The material conception of life is centered around, actually this from Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, Uddhav Gita section, basically is described that the material conception of life centers around two main things, that I am the ultimate doer and I am the enjoyer. We should also remember these things, ultimate doer and enjoyer. That is a material conception. This will lead to whole lots of problems. Instead, through the process of devotion service, we're becoming situated in our spiritual ego, real ego, which is to understand Krishna is the real enjoyer, Krishna is the real proprietor, Krishna is the ultimate doer. But that doesn't deny our role in any action. Remember Bhagavad Gita, we hear about 5 factors of action, right? We are also part of the action. We have our desire and endeavor is also part of the action. But still, we are not the ultimate doer. Material nature is there to support it. And Supreme Lord's sanction ultimately is important before any result can come. That we should remember always. Then we will not become proud of anything that we achieve and will not feel disheartened or depressed anytime in life also. Because we understand everything is in the hands of Krishna. And if he wants me to do service in this particular way, He'll give me that service. He'll give me some empowerment, some understanding, some realization. So I can do this service. And some skill, some strength to do the service. But if he thinks that I don't need to do this service, somebody else is best suited for this service, then he will take away that ability that I don't have. Then I can engage in some other service with whatever I have. As long as we engage our abilities, skill, intelligence, whatever resources Krishna gave me right now, with that I can serve Krishna. Krishna is happy. He's not looking for, oh, why is he not doing that, which I cannot even do at all. He's not looking for that. He's looking for whatever I can do, I'm doing sincerely. That's all he's expecting, with the guidance of spiritual master. So that is the 6th verse. So let's go to 7th verse. This is the last verse for today. Ati paramartha sunya, paramartha. Ati paramartha sunya, sakala samsara, tucha rasa, vishaye, se adara sabara. Tucha is tucha. It sounds itself is not nice, insignificant. So the entire world was devoid of spiritual practice. For everyone was attached to insignificant sense gratification. So it's a short translation, but profound. So why is he describing this? The chapter title is Glories of Srila Haridas Thakur. So now, before describing Haridas Thakur appearance and his pastimes in this world and his different glorious qualities and glorious activities, he's describing the context at that particular time, what was happening at that particular time in that Navdeep area. So that's what Adhara is describing, the context. So when we understand the context, then we understand the value of something that is in that context. So value of Haridas Thakur contributions, value of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's contributions, we'll understand more when we understand the context of that particular time period. And particular time period and particular people's situation, people's consciousness at that time, people's activities at that time, like that. So what is he saying? The entire world was devoid of spiritual practices. That means they're not doing spiritual practices. Okay, now somebody may say that there are always Brahmanas, they will always do puja. Then why are they saying spiritual practices? That means spiritual, all of you must already know, material and spiritual. One of the simple difference for us to know is material means something not considered not in relation with Krishna. Spiritual means considering in relation with Krishna. So I may do puja, I may do everything, but if I'm not thinking about Krishna, if my mind is not put towards Krishna, then it's not in relation to Krishna, spiritual practices, like that. We'll come to know more about it also in the purport. For everyone was attached to insignificant sense gratification. Why they were not doing spiritual practices? Because they were attached to sense gratification, which is insignificant. Why is insignificant? Even animals can get it. Like Rishabdev tells in Srimad Bhagavatam 5th canto. Even hogs can get the sense gratification, sense pleasure. So why do you want to waste human life for that? Human life is meant for austerity, tapo divyam, like that he describes. Prabhupada loves that phrase, tapo divyam. So, like that insignificant gratification. We'll read the purport also. During the time of Gaura Sundara, the living entities of this material world were extremely maddened by the insignificant taste for sense objects. Instead of realizing that the only purpose of life was to make spiritual advancement, people were eager for their own sense enjoyment and averse to the service of Krishna. So, people did not realize and understand and appreciate and accept in life that our main goal of life is to make spiritual advancement, to go back to eternal happiness time. They did not understand. That's why they're going after insignificant sense enjoyment. And they're not doing any service to Krishna. And he says, in fact, the community of sense enjoyers who glorify religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification, dharma, artha, and kama. So the people who are practicing dharma, artha, kama for sense gratifications, and also why they're saying like that? Some people think I do devotional service, so I get more money, and I get more money, so I can enjoy more sense gratification. That's what they think is the purpose of religion, like that. Some people. So such enjoyers, and also even renunciates, those who taken renunciation, that means they don't want to accept in sense enjoyment, material sense enjoyment at least, but they aspire for liberation from material existence. I don't want this material existence. Oh my God, so many troubles. I want to go back to there, like that. Get out of this, like that. That means they hate the material existence and troubles with material existence. They're seeking liberation. That's also considered a material desire also, because selfishness. So they became completely devoid of devotional service to Krishna. They didn't have any bhakti. Not even the slightest propensity for serving Krishna could be found in their hearts at any time. Such a pathetic condition. So when it's important to know this context, because when saintly persons are described, sadhu is described as paradukka dukhi. So when people are not paying attention to their ultimate welfare, for their own ultimate welfare, so they can be happy ultimately, eternally. When they don't pay attention, they go after cheap sense gratification happiness and deprive themselves of the ultimate happiness for a long time. That makes the saintly persons unhappy, sadhus unhappy. And they may not only unhappy, it makes them compassion. Their compassion will be evoked to help the other living entities, like that. So that's why Haridas Thakur will come and he will show his compassion. That's coming up in the next set of verses. So this verse is talking about, refer to purport from text 308. Oh yeah, I have it good. So I notice it's 1148. So I'll try to summarize few things in this purport. Basically, this verse is saying, agree to see the entire world absorbs in sense gratification. This is the condition of the world. Haridas Thakur would sigh deeply as he chanted the name of Krishna. So he's not chanting Krishna's holy name just for himself. He's chanting, thinking about all the people who are suffering because of their absorption in sense gratification, instead of absorption in Krishna. So people who are intoxicated with material knowledge and they're greedy with material enjoyment, it seems. Because of greed for material enjoyment, any amount of enjoyment is not enough. More I want. Then I want more, then I need to spend more time, more energy, more enthusiasm. Then naturally I will not have time for Krishna consciousness cultivation. That's the point being made here. So the purport describes that Brahmanas were namesake Brahmanas. They were just interested in only getting charity. Remember, Brahmanas have several duties. Reading scriptures, understanding scriptures, teaching scriptures, doing deity worship, teaching deity worship, and then accepting charity and giving charity. They're only interested in taking charity, nothing else. That was the fate of Brahmanas at that time, like that. That means they're in the bodily constitution of life. Now, similarly, brahmacharis are namesake ashrama. They did not get married. That's the only thing. That too because they cannot marry. That's why they're brahmachari. Not because they chose to become brahmachari to perfectly dedicate their life for Krishna consciousness. Not like that. Like that, Vanaprastha, sannyasi also, they're just taking the externals, but they're not able to follow the real purpose of the ashram, like that is described. So that's what is describing the worst condition of the people in the Kali Yuga at that time. Let me go back to the verse. I think, yeah. I want to spend little time on the text 7 because the point is that how people's condition of being engrossed, absorbed, attached in insignificant sense gratification is described. Because of that, they could not do a spiritual practice like that we're describing, right? So we'll spend little time on that. Of course, a lot of time can be spent on this. And it's very important as practicing devotees to not just brush these topics away. Oh, that is talking about somebody else. People who don't even chant, it's talking about them only. They're only doing sense gratification. But I'm great. I'm doing chanting every day. I'm doing reading every day. I'm doing hearing every day. I'm doing deity worship every day. So it's not talking about me. Some of us, not all of us will think like that for sure. But some of us, some people like me might have tendency to think like that or minimize it. Even if I don't think, I don't have that, I'll think I have very little sense gratification. Nothing much, not big deal. Like that we'll think. But these instructions from the Shastras are reminders for us to check ourselves. Many times we ask ourselves, ask people, how do you know I'm growing in devotion service? How do I grow? How do you know I'm doing bhakti? Like that, these kind of questions come, right? So these kind of Shastras will help us to evaluate ourselves internally, because nobody outside need to tell us whether we're doing great devotion or less devotion. We will know ourselves with the measure of Shastra, Guru and Sadhu, like that, with these measures, not with our own mundane measures, with the measure of Shastra, Guru and Sadhu. So we can see, do I have any sense gratification tendencies? First of all, what does sense gratification means? What does sense means? Senses means we all know we have 5 knowledge acquiring senses, 5 working senses. Knowledge acquiring senses primarily are eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, touch, like that, right? So these are knowledge acquiring senses. Gratification means I'm trying to give pleasure to them somehow. My goal is to give pleasure to the senses. That is sense gratification. And the sense gratification can be smaller degree, greater degree, extreme degree. Extreme sense gratification degree, we can recognize it, which is what, let us say, somebody is so driven by sex pleasure, they do extreme violence to ladies, for example, like that. Or somebody is so driven by the greed of getting money, they'll get weapons and they do terrorist activities to get all the money from banks, for example, like that. That is the extreme. But there are lower, many stages of sense gratification also like that. So we can always consider, am I trying to enjoy something with my eyes to see? Am I trying to enjoy something with ears to hear? Am I trying to enjoy something touching soft things with my skin? Am I trying to enjoy something with my nose by smelling something sweet? Like that, we can always question ourselves. And that way, we can recognize the scope for improvement. That is the first stage. 50% of the problem is solved by recognizing this. So that's the first stage of recognition, self-recognition. Then we need to accept it, not brush it away. Oh, that is normal. Human being means that need should be there. We have to enjoy. It's okay. Not brush it away. Recognize it, accept it. Then we can find the solution, either by our own contemplation, by hearing from Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, by talking to our mentor or Guru, we can get the solution. But if you don't recognize it, if you don't accept it, nobody can help us. That is one point. Now we take the guidance, and after getting the guidance, we just don't hear, oh, it's a nice point. Done. There is no use. After we get the nice point, we accept it into our heart from Guru, and then we apply it in our life to the best of our ability. Remember, Krishna is not expecting us to do anything miraculous. Whatever our ability can do, we should do fully, sincerely. Then Krishna will increase our strength a little bit more. Then we do a little bit more. Krishna will increase our strength a little bit more. Then we do a little bit more. Like that, Krishna will help us all the time. That's one aspect we can consider when we hear something like this from scriptures. Now, we can also see, what did we learn from in another scripture about this, like that. For example, we hear some statements in Bhagavad Gita for this. We hear some statements from Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshamrita from this. We hear some statements from Nectar of Devotion for this. So when we think like that, when we can synthesize our understanding, and we can grow our conviction strongly. And then that can be followed by determination to overcome sense gratification like that. But all these things with one focus, that Krishna should be placed. All this, anything we hear about, oh, sense gratification is not good, we should remove sense gratification. That's not our goal of life. Remove sense gratification is not our goal of life. Our goal of life is to please Krishna and situate in devotion service to Krishna. For that, if sense gratification is coming in the way, then we brush it out. If sense gratification is supporting us, we take it up like that. For example, we are not like jnanis and yogis who don't want any sense contact with sense objects like that. Our process is engaging senses in service of Krishna, engaging mind in service of Krishna. Through that, we are purifying our senses like that. So that way, we focus on positive attachment to Krishna more than avoiding the negative like that. But that doesn't mean we should not follow regulations that are prescriptions and provisions we should not follow. That's not what I mean. What I mean is our main focus is on positive, to develop attachment to Krishna, to develop absorption in Krishna through devotion service practices. And then through that, we also regulate and try to focus on how to avoid the negatives that are coming in the way. Remember, Bhakti definition from Nectar of Devotion is Anya Abhilashita Sunyam, Anya Abhilashita Sunyam. There is no other desires. Jnana Karmadi Anavrutam, Anukuliyana Krishna Anushrilanam Bhakti Uttama. So if you take this one phrase at least, Anya Abhilashita Sunyam, we should not have any other desire. Other desire means desires other than service to Krishna, service to Krishna's devotees like that. So then, if we have those desires, that's not pure devotion service. So we need to work on our material desires. But how do you work on material desires? It's again a broad topic, but I'll summarize a few things. Basically, for anything, first we need to focus on why do you need to work on sense gratification? Why is it bad? First of all, we need to realize that. Then we can work on how can I work on the sense gratification tendencies? How can I work on them like that? Then after knowing that, we can implement it. So why is sense gratification bad? Because just one aspect we talked from Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti definition, because material desires are not helping us in purity. That's one aspect. Second aspect is, we know Sharanagati verse also, 6 limbs of surrender, Anukulena Sankalpa, Pratikulasya Varjanam. That means those things that are favorable to Krishna, we accept it. Those things are unfavorable to Krishna, we reject them. So is sense gratification favorable or unfavorable? We can evaluate ourselves also, even though scriptures are telling us, when I'm doing more sense gratification, am I increasing more devotion service or am I reducing devotion service? It will be clear. If I eat too much food, I'll be lazy to chant. My mind will go to sleep instead of chanting. If I sleep too much, I don't have time for chanting. So it's very simple to understand for us, right? Whether sense gratification is helping our devotion service or not helping. That is one way we can think about, is not favorable to devotion service, pratikul. So we reject that like that. Another thing we talked about, Rishabhdev example. Rishabhdev said, even animals have sense gratification. We also have sense gratification. Then opportunity. So if we utilize that, we utilize our time, energy, and enthusiasm for that. Are we utilizing it properly? Remember, in finance, there is something called opportunity cost. So if we engage our time, energy, and enthusiasm in this one, we're not able to engage in devotion service. That means we're losing. That's one thing we can understand also. Similarly, we have to use our intelligence. Actually, sense gratification worked on broadly few aspects. First aspect is by developing our bhakti and by developing taste in bhakti, by developing taste in loving relationship with Krishna and devotees. Through that, we get a higher taste. That means, what do we mean by higher taste? When we get the taste in devotion service, then we want to get happiness through devotion service. Or by reading more, we want to get happiness. By serving more, we want to get happiness. By hearing more, we want to get happiness, like that. Then our train is gone in this direction. Then we don't need to worry about this. This will go away, like that. That is our ideal thing. But what to do in my stage of devotion service? I'm not there yet. I'm getting some taste, but not so much taste that I can avoid all the negative things, material desires. Then what do we do with the material desires? Then we need to use our intelligence to contemplate. Is sense gratification, how much happiness is it coming? What kind of misery I'm getting? Remember in Bhagavata verse we hear a wise person, Bhagavata 5.22, right? Let me share that. I don't know how to go to next tab. Let me try. I'll move this away. Yeah, okay, good. Okay, this is verse. Ehi samparshja bhoga dukkha yona evate adi antavanta kaunteya nate shuramate buddhaha. An intelligent person, so see the word intelligent person, does not take part in the sources of misery. Why? What kind of source of misery? Which are due to contact with material senses. That means senses are in contact with sense objects. Those are sources of misery. Why? Because such pleasures have a beginning and end. That means they are very temporary. So the wise man does not delight in them. He doesn't want temporary pleasure. He's very intelligent. He wants the biggest pleasure, unlimited pleasure, ever-growing pleasure, ever-growing happiness, which is in relation with Krishna and his devotees, loving relationships. So that's what intelligent person does. So when we analyze these things to understand, really, is it true? What Krishna is saying? How can it be true for me in my life? So I tried for 6 hours to get this pleasure. Then did I get it? Oh, sometimes I tried it, but I did not get it at all. So that's the first problem. Sometimes we may not get it after so much endeavor. Second thing is, even if after I get it, I don't like the pleasure that I've strived for. It is very cheap. For example, I like gulab jam. I strive to make so many gulab jams. 100 gulab jams I make it. Finally, I made it. It tastes lousy because I don't know cooking, for example. Like that. That means finally the result is not great. Second, that is one possibility. Third possibility, even if result is great, I cannot enjoy too much. There's a temporarily. Either because the pleasure itself will go away, because the object that is giving pleasure goes away, or my body itself has a limited capacity to enjoy also. So that means even if I love gulab jamun so much and it came out very wonderfully by a wonderful cook we made, after 10 gulab jamuns, I cannot eat the 11th fellow again, right? That means my body has a limited capacity. So, but spiritual pleasure is not like that. We are made for spiritual pleasure and enjoyment. So we can delight in spiritual pleasure so much and so much, it will never unending for us. We will never get satiated. We'll always be happy and we'll always be hankering for more and more spiritual pleasure also. It's interesting. There's another concept I wanted to explain. We're satisfied also, and at the same time, we're increasing our service due to pleasure also in spirituality. But at the same time, we're satisfied also. That is important. It's not complacency, but satisfied also. That's what comes with spiritual pleasure, with devotion service like that. So when we analyze like this, then we understand, oh, even though it appears, I will get some enjoyment, the mind is proposing. Oh, another thing, we need to recognize when the proposals come. Yeah, actually next verse talks about that. 5:23 is saying, Sanknoti haiva yosodam praksharira vimokshanat kama krododbhavam vegam sayukta sukhi nara. How to be happy in this world, sukhi nara, is we're able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger. This closely relates to nectar of instruction verse also. You can see vacho vegam, manaso krodha vegam, like that, right? So keyword here is tolerate. Krishna is saying, if we can tolerate the urges, the sodum, the urges, if we can tolerate, then why? If we tolerate, then we can be happy in this world and next world like that. So what does this mean, tolerating? Tolerating means understanding that my mind, first of all, having the right expectation. Oh, I've been practicing devotion service for 10 years now. So I'm such an elevated devotee now. I don't get any sense desires anymore, material desires anymore. That's a wrong goal to have and wrong expectation to have. Because Krishna is saying, as long as the body is there, material desires will keep coming. Even though I'm a great devotee. But what do the great devotees do? They're not, if they're situated in higher happiness, they're not shaken by this small desire that comes. They'll ignore it, number 1 point. Number 2 point, they recognize that this is my mind proposing something inferior, not really for my benefit. So I'm able to see the mind from a distance. with intelligence, then I will say, okay, this will not help me. Okay, for example, I took 2 servings of food in the prasadam. For example, I went to a program and took 2 servings of prasadam. I like the curry so much. So I want to take the 3rd serving. Mind will say, take the 3rd serving. It's wonderful. You will not get this opportunity again. Then intelligence to tell, oh, that's correct. It's a nice curry. But if I eat too much, I will sleep too much. Tomorrow morning, I cannot give class. Tomorrow morning, I cannot chant my holy name properly. So it's okay. Thanks, but no thanks. Like that, we need to tell our mind, not other people. Our mind only is the problem. We tell the mind like that. That is what is Krishna. So basically, 3 essential points we talked about in control sense gratification. One is through bhakti. By doing bhakti, ideally Tivra bhakti, we can work on getting higher taste and absorption in Krishna. Through that, we can control the lower desires, like that, number 1. Number 2, we talked about using the intelligence to contemplate, is it beneficial for me, not beneficial for me. Third thing we talked about is that tolerating, understand that material desires will keep coming, mind will propose, but sharpen our intelligence through study of scriptures and contemplating of scriptural principles by our own personal realization in our life. That's also important. Then with that, we tolerate the desires and then not act on them. So Chaitanya Charan Prabhu says, toleration is like a wall between the temptation and the transgression. That means the temptation comes, desire comes to act on it. But the tolerating will stop like a wall before it goes to transgression. That means acting on a desire like that. So like that, it's already 1 hour 6 minutes. Okay, I want to tell one more point. I'll tell from 11th canto.
Prabhu,
Lord.
don't worry about the time. We are good. You can please talk, Prabhu. It's very nice. Please come.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Yeah, I was thinking 1 hour. So that is, yeah. So then another nice thing is about Lord Krishna is giving instructions in not only Bhagavad Gita like this, he also gives instructions in Srimad Bhagavatam also for our benefit. And in fact, scriptures are having these instructions about 2 aspects of the sense gratification topic. One is how sense gratification is so not helpful for our devotion service. That is one aspect. Scriptures emphasize. So we really get into heart. That is one aspect. Several cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam has this theme. So second aspect is, how can we overcome that? What is the remedy for that? Like that also. So in that connection, I want to refer to 11th canto Uddhav Gita section, where Lord Krishna is describing to Uddhava. Actually, he gives wonderful instructions on this section, and a couple of them I'll highlight. One of them is, these lower tendencies are coming for us from modes of passion, mode of ignorance usually. So Lord Krishna recommends in that section to cultivate mode of goodness. And by cultivating mode of goodness, how do you cultivate mode of goodness? It's a mindset, activities. Bhagavad Gita itself, Krishna describes, right? The foods we eat, the time we get up, the time we do our activities, all these things, for example, planning, regulation, cleanliness, all these things will help us in cultivating mode of goodness. So Krishna describes, take to mode of goodness. But then that's not the ultimate goal again. Krishna is very clear. Through mode of goodness, will be more favorable to practice principles of devotion service. When we practice principles of devotion service, we actually achieve transcendental knowledge. But how do we get the principles of devotion service? By hearing instructions from a guru. So mode of goodness, and then practice regulative principles and religious principles, principles of devotion service by acting with the guidance of the guru. Then through that, we'll develop transcendental knowledge by the mercy of guru. Then when we get the transcendental knowledge, when we are actually situated in spiritual conception. So one of the main reasons for sense gratification is what? Bodily conception of life. So in the section, Krishna highlights that portion, which is, the sequence is very simple to understand. Let us say I'm thinking I'm the body. Then what I'll do, I want to do best for my body. I want to give happiness to my body, enjoyment to my body, comfort to my body, pleasure to my body, like that. And I don't want any suffering to my body, distress to my body, any kind of pain to my body. That is if my conception is I am the body, I want to do the best for body. More pleasure, less suffering. Simple. In fact, majority of the people in the world even myself most of the time, is in that platform. More pleasure for my body, less suffering for my body, like that, right? Now, Krishna is describing this formula nicely. When you go to mode of goodness and then practice bhakti properly with guidance of Guru, and then get to the transcendental knowledge, then I'm situated in understanding that I'm not this body, I'm a spirit soul, I'm part and parcel of Krishna, I'm a servant of Krishna. When I'm situated in that spiritual conception, what is happening? Then I will do what is good for my soul then, right? And then I understood I'm a servant of Krishna. That means I'm good. I'll do what is good for my master, what my master wants, like that. So then instead of acting for my body, remember earlier I was thinking of my body. So I got material desires that say, I want bodily pleasure, no material suffering, like that. So now I'm understanding that I'm a soul and servant of Krishna. Now I have spiritual desires at this stage. Then I will think what is pleasing to Krishna and what is not pleasing to Krishna. What pleasing to Krishna, I will want to increase more and more. What is not pleasing to Krishna, I will reject more and more, like that. So that's a nice formula Krishna does. Again, Krishna cautions one more thing. So now, remember he told go to mode of goodness, but that's only a path towards transcendence, but not the ultimate step in the transcendence. So he says, then give up everything also, give up all the modes also at that point of time. That's what he discussed. Remember, like Bhagavata also Krishna describes, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, like that, right? Only take shelter of me, like that. In fact, in that section, Krishna describes wonderful qualities devotees should have. Devotees have and devotees can have, devotees should aspire for. Like Chaitanya Charitamrita describes about Krishna Eka Sharanam, here I think it's called Matsharana, like means taking shelter of Krishna. That's the main quality we need to cultivate. So all the things we can learn, anything, that's absolutely okay. But always hanker for a shelter of Krishna. Be eager to take shelter of Krishna. With that enough, Bhakti Yoga process is so wonderful. Just by practicing Bhakti Yoga, it will actually align everything in our life. We don't even understand initially. I don't understand fully still. Bhakti Yoga is so great. It's like an ocean. So many things that our devotee Prabhupada is saying, oh, you get up in the morning and chant. That helps. I didn't realize that that helps in mode of goodness. Oh, really? And that is the best time to chant. Oh, really? Oh, do service in the temple. That helps in engaging our hands and legs. Oh, by service I get realization after reading. I didn't know. Oh, but Prabhupada says serve. Now, without knowing, we serve and we get realization. Just by reading, we not get realization. Just by hearing, we don't get realization. So like that, so many things intricate in Bhakti nicely. It helps us to develop taste in Bhakti and develop detachment. Remember, first canto, second chapter also we hear Jnana Vairagyam comes. There are couplets that are described in scriptures throughout. Knowledge will come from Bhakti and detachment also will come Bhakti. In fact, that is one of the great measures for us to see. By doing Bhakti, is my devotion increasing? Is my interest in doing devotion practice increasing? Number one measure. Number two, am I getting more detached to sense gratification activities? Or my sense gratification increasing? That helps us to measure our bhakti also. Srimad Bhagavatam, one of the purports Prabhupada mentions this measure like that. So like that we can measure. So in a sense, two broad things. One is focus on bhakti and align with what is pleasing to Krishna. In that attempts to align with what is pleasing to Krishna, everything else will fall into place. Number one. Now somebody may take this into extreme state, which says, oh, bhakti will automatically give. And they will interpret the automatic word as, I don't need to, if I'm getting the urge to eat 100 gulab jamuns, I don't need to stop the desire. Bhakti will automatically cure it. That's the other extreme I can go. But we should be careful about the mind proportions also there. Then we say, okay, my dear mind, I need to do my endeavor, then Krishna will give mercy. So like that, we need to regulate our activities also in the preliminary stage now, like that. That's one nice thing Krishna describes in that section of Uddhava Gita. So basically, in the later sections also, similar topic comes in the conversation between Hamsa Avatara and Kumaras also. They ask like that, oh, it appears this is impossible goal you are giving me, like that. Meaning, mind is always with the sense objects, and sense objects in the mind in the form of material desires. It sounds impossible to get rid of them. Then Krishna addresses that also. Basically, by absorbing by developing spiritual conception, by doing devotional service, by absorbing Krishna's name, form, qualities, activities, or pastimes of Krishna, then we can actually be situated in a spiritual position. Then that time we can see it as a dream only. Meaning is not consequential. Something happens in dream, we don't give consequence, right? We don't see so much consequence with that. Like that, we'll sweep it away like that, he describes in that section also. Basically, Krishna is giving us tools how to get over it. By practicing devotion service, we can get over things easily like that. And other last fundamental mention is the point given in this verse of this thing is anything should not cover our bhakti. Remember, Anjabilashita Sunyam, Gnana Karmadi Anavrutam, Anukulyan Krishna Sulinam. In that verse, the focus is Gnana processes, Gnana tendencies, Karma tendencies should not cover our bhakti, right? So here what happened? Because of sense gratification, they stopped bhakti. No devotion service, basically. So that is the dangerous position we should avoid ourselves in. We should always make sure bhakti is the topmost in our goals, in our aspirations, in our activities. And we should always watch out, is something overcoming by bhakti. Even reading also. If reading is taking away from my chanting, reading is reading of all literature, all kinds of literature we want to know. If it's taking away from bhakti, chanting, then it's not good also. But again, reading spiritual purpose books we discuss is important because that will give us a faith. See, all these principles we're learning from our acharyas, we're getting association acharyas. When we get their association, we get the strength to practice bhakti. So that's also important. Yeah. So these are the main things I wanted to discuss. We'll pause here. I wanted to keep it 1 hour, but sorry, I went 15 minutes over. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki, Sri Caitanya Bhagavata ki jai, Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah, please feel free to correct me if anything went wrong in my understanding or my realization. Please share.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. A very, very wonderful class. Very introspective class, Prabhuji. You taught us so many things. You started from how Bhishma Deva was in Virya Rasa, Daruka was in Dasya Rasa. You gave a very beautiful explanation how we should understand philosophy and how we have to apply it, and how we should Shravanam, Kirtanam, everything. How is it important? Very, very beautiful class, Prabhuji, about sense gratification, and very simplified explanation for Uddhava Gita. Very, very grateful to you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna devotees, please go ahead, share your realizations and questions with Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna ji.
Yes, it was really nice listening to you, Prabhu. It was very, very nice. Very nice speaking to you. I really like the way you analyzed the science of sense gratification.
Yeah, yes, Mate.
So much to change in myself. And I was thinking how important it is. When I hear, everything seems interesting, but I fail to apply it many times. So I hope after this class, at least I remind myself to apply many things. So thank you so much, Prabhu. Very, very beautiful.
Thank you, Mate. Yeah, I'm not a poet also, Mate. I'm also still affected by material desires, but I'm sharing what I read and learned and understood. That's all, Mate. Yeah. But we'll all practice together.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Welcome, Mate. Yeah, if somebody has, I know there are lots of senior devotees on the call also. If you want to, if you have any correction in my understanding also, please feel free to share so that I can also learn and practice bhakti properly also. Or if you have some other angles to this topic also, please feel free to share that I did not bring up. That will add to the enrichment for the Sangha only.
Prabhuji,
Hare Krishna.
thank you so much. Class, very, very nice class, Prabhu. So many nice points you have shared. Very grateful to you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, there are some devotees have shared comments in the chat. Shivani Mataji is thanking you. She is asking you to give your association more often. And Amrita Mataji is also thanking you for a very beautiful and wonderful session.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam, Srila Prabhupada. This
Hare
is
Krishna Mataji.
Shyamagiri Devdasi from Charlotte. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Wonderful
Hare
class.
Krishna Mataji.
Nice to see you after a long time, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji.
Very nice points you shared, Prabhuji. How it means our focus should be like, pleasing Krishna, not just sense gratification or not sense gratification, not like that. Very, very wonderful class. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. It was helpful for me to meditate also and think about this topic before the class for me also. Thank you for the opportunity, Mataji.
If there are no more realizations, Prabhuji, with your permission, can we end the call here?
Sure. Thank you, Mataji.
I would like to offer our obeisances to Prabhuji and all the assembled devotees here. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyo patitanam pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo namo
vaishnavebhyo
namaha.
Koti
Vaishnavamul ki
Vaishnavendra
jai.
Chaitanya Bhagavat ki jai,
Jai.
Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai,
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Sundaranand Prabhuji ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, devotees. We'll catch up again tomorrow.